dear students, myself Gangadhar Solanke, and I welcome you all to the MCGM's virtual classroom. In 1857, a great struggle took place in India which completely shook the British government. And now we know why it was happened, because in the last lesson of history we studied about effects of British rule on India, and it was just for the exploitation of Indian people, exploitation of India, and that's why the freedom struggle of 1857 shook the British government. The struggle did not arise all of a sudden. Earlier as well, many such struggles took place in India against the British, and all these struggles were because of the exploitation policies of British government. The scope of the struggle of 1857 and its background was taken into consideration by V.D. Savarkar in his book The Indian War of Independence 1857. Later many revolutionaries got inspiration from it to fight against the British. So in general we call it as the first war of independence, or the Indian War of Independence 1857. So now in this topic we are going to talk about struggle before 1857, causes for the struggle of 1857, scope of the struggle, leadership of the struggle, crushing of the struggle, and then causes of failure of the struggle, and the last point of this topic, consequences of the freedom struggle, end of rule of East India Company. So here the first point of this lesson, struggle before 1857. There was one sentence earlier as well as many such struggles took place in India against the British. So that earlier struggles now we are going to talk about. At every place where the British rule was established in India, the local people had to bear the ill effects of British government. And because of these ill effects, local people revolt against the British government. The Indians started feeling that they are exploited in every strata due to the company's rule, and this resulted in increase of discontent against their rule, and it was started in 1770. There was major famine in the Bengal province. Farmers and common people became bankrupt during the company rule. But the British rulers were indifferent and insensitive towards Indian people. As I told you this before in the last lesson, that was effects of British rule. From 1763 to 1857, the peasants of Bengal participated in the rebellion led by Sannyasi Fakir. Similar revolts took place in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and South India. Then Umaji Naik also gave a struggle, also gave a strong fight. He organized the Ramoshis and the local youth to revolt against the British. They drew a declaration and appealed to fight against the British and overthrow the government. Why? Because this government was only for the exploitation of Indian people. They inspired people in Pune, Satara, Ahmednagar, Solapur, Nashik, Bhor, etc. In 1832, Umaji Naik was arrested and hanged to death in Pune because of the revolt which he was started. But his death also gave motivation or inspiration to other people to fight against British rule. Then the Indian tribes and forest communities also challenged the British rule. Their livelihood was dependent on forest resources, but the British laws put restrictions on it. Before 1857, some zamindars and royal class from different territories rebelled against the British. Now here one thing to understand, not only the peasants or not only the farmers or not only the Indian tribes, but also some zamindars and royal class also rebelled against British. हर कोई उनके गवर्नमेंट से, उनके अलग अलग पॉलिसीज से, उनके अलग अलग लॉज से परेशान था, बिकॉज इट वॉज ओनली फॉर द एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ द इंडियन पीपल एंड फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट. दे ओनली वॉन्ट मनी from India, from the Indian people. So in this now, the next thing, as you can see on the screen, the British laws put restrictions on the forest, and then consequently Bihar, Kolam area of Chota Nagpur, Gonds of Odisha, Santals of Bihar fought against the British. The Gadkaris from Kolhapur and Font Savant from Konkan also challenged the British. Before 1857, some zamindars and royal class from different territories rebelled because of their own problems. In the army of East India Company, there were many Indian sepoys. They were ill-treated by the company. Only the Indian sepoys, not the sepoys of British East India Company or from England. Their salary and allowances were very less compared to British soldiers. It means that there was direct discrimination between the Indian soldiers and the British soldiers. In 1806 at Vellore and in 1824 at Barakpur, the revolt took a fierce form. All these rebellions took place in their respective territories. They were local in nature and single-handed. The British forcibly broke down the revolts. The discontent in the minds of diverse classes blowed out in the form of this struggle, and its outbreak was in the form of an armed rebellion. And the causes for the struggle of 1857, just now we saw about struggle before 1857. लेकिन ये जो स्ट्रगल अलग अलग जगहों पे अलग अलग लोगों ने किए थे वो ज़रूरी थे, क्योंकि 1857 का स्ट्रगल था वो सब इन बाकी छोटी छोटी जगहों की छोटी छोटी लोगों के द्वारा किए गए स्ट्रगल का ही रिजल्ट था. सो द कॉजेस फॉर द स्ट्रगल ऑफ 1857: economic causes, political causes, social causes, discontent among Indian soldiers, and the immediate cause. Now one by one we will study this in detail, and in this the first one, economical causes. As we saw in the last lesson also, economic policies of British government was only for the exploitation of Indian people, exploitation of Indian economy, for the exploitation of Indian agriculture. So the British introduced new revenue system to increase their income. Taxes were forcibly extracted from the farmers, and because of this, agriculture system collapsed. To sell the British goods in India and enjoy profit was the policy of the British, and it was very natural thing that the people from India started revolt against all the policies of British government. So here, to sell the British goods in India, वहाँ की चीज़ें यहाँ लाकर बेचनी है और उससे प्रॉफिट कमाना है, यही पॉलिसी थी। और लास्ट लेसन में तो हमने देखा भी है कि वहाँ से जो चीज़ें यहाँ आती थी उस पर टैक्स कम लगाए जाते थे और यहाँ से जो चीज़ें वहाँ जा रही थी उस पर टैक्स बढ़ाए जा रहे थे। इससे जो लोकल आर्टिसंस थे उनको रोज़गार नहीं रहा। और दूसरी इम्पॉर्टेंट बात इसमें जो हमने लास्ट लेसन में देखी, वहाँ पर जो प्रोडक्शन होता था वो मशीन से होता था, तो ज़्यादा होता था, उसकी प्राइजेस चीप होती थी। एंड ऑल दिस थिंग्स क्रिएटेड very unrest among the Indian people. They imposed heavy taxes on the local industries. The handicraft and textile industry of India were ruined, and it was the pillar of Indian economy. But because of the policy of British government, this pillar collapsed, and many Indian artisans become unemployed. They had growing discontent in their mind against the British. Next thing, causes for the struggle of 1857, in that social causes. The Indian felt that the Britishers were interfering in the culture, in the tradition and customs of India, because we Indians are very proud of our customs and traditions and our culture. Sati prohibition, widow remarriage act were correct from social point of view, but we Indians are always sticked to our customs and traditions, so that Indians thought that it is an interference in their lifestyle, and hence they were dissatisfied. So it was also the one of the important reason behind the struggle of 1857. Next thing, political causes. After 1757, the British took charge of many Indian states by using divide and rule method. Later, Lord Dalhousie annexed many princely states on various causes. The Nawab of Ayodhya was dethroned on grounds of maladministration, whereas the princely states of Satara, Nagpur and Jhansi were annexed through the doctrine of lapse. And due to the policies of Dalhousie, the Indians did not consider the British as trustworthy. So here one thing to understand, not only the common people, but the kings or prince of different states, princely states, were also involved in the revolt of 1857 for their rights. Next thing, discontent among Indian soldiers. तो यहाँ पर एक बात हमें समझनी है कि इंडियन सोसाइटी का एक भी हिस्सा ऐसा नहीं रहा जिसको ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट के पॉलिसीज से प्रॉब्लम नहीं था। तो ये सारे इकट्ठा हुए और सब ने अपनी अपनी जगह पे इनके खिलाफ रिवोल्ट स्टार्ट कर दिया। स्टार्ट में हर एक जगह पे ये अलग अलग तरह से होता था, लेकिन सब इकट्ठा होके जब ये बहुत बढ़ गया, देन वी कॉल इट एज द फर्स्ट इंडिपेंडेंस वॉर ऑफ इंडिया, दैट इज ऑफ 1857. The Indian soldiers were given low status by the British officers. They could not gain any post higher than the Subedar, and this was the injustice with the people or the soldiers of the Indian army. क्योंकि वो कितना भी अच्छा काम करेंगे तो वो सूबेदार ही बनकर रहते थे, उसके आगे उनसे कुछ और प्रमोशन उनका नहीं होता था. Also they were paid less compared to the British soldiers. The allowances were also gradually decreased. Due to these reasons, there was growing discontent among the Indian soldiers also. Next thing, here as you can see in the image, in the causes for the struggle of 1857, immediate cause. In 1856, the British providing long infield rifles to the Indian sepoys, and the sepoys were required to bite the end of the cartridge. Now, what happened with this cartridge? The news spread out that this cartridge were smeared in the fats of cow and pig. Now, what happened due to this? The religious sentiments of Hindu and Muslim sepoys were hurt and made them unhappy. Now, the outburst. Disciplinary action was taken on those sepoys who refused to use the smeared cartridges and were given severe punishment. Mangal Pandey from Barakpur cantonment shot an English officer as a reaction to unjust nature of British officers. Then Mangal Pandey was arrested and hanged to death, and this news spread like fire. And because of this, people jumped into the war. The entire regiment of Indian sepoys at Meerut took part in the freedom struggle and marched towards Delhi. Thousands of Indians voluntarily joined them on the way. Just imagine this picture. Meerut के सारे सिपाही जो है वो दिल्ली की तरफ मार्च कर रहे हैं, और वो जब जिस रास्ते से जाते थे तो वहाँ से भी अलग अलग लोग उनके साथ उस आउटबर्स्ट में शामिल हो जाते थे. They handed over the leadership of the freedom struggle to Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah and proclaimed him as the Emperor of India. Now, the next thing, scope of the struggle. The self-confidence of the sepoys increased with the capture of Delhi. It means that they captured Delhi. It also gave inspiration to other soldiers. क्योंकि एक सोल्जर्स गए और दिल्ली कैप्चर की तो इससे बाकी सोल्जर्स को भी इंस्पिरेशन मिली और उन्हें लगा कि इफ़ वी ऑल्सो जम्प्ड इनटू द स्ट्रगल वी ऑल्सो कैन डू समथिंग फॉर आवर कंट्री. The revolt soon spread in North India. The Indian soldiers revolted in cantonments from Bihar to Rajputana. The revolt spread in Lucknow, Allahabad, Kanpur, Banaras, Bareilly and Jhansi. Later it spread to South India also. In the revolt, Chhatrapati Pratap Singh of Satara and his officer Rango Bapuji, Chima Saheb of Kolhapur, Bala Saheb Bhave of Nargund, Bhagoji Naik of Ahmednagar were in the forefront. Royal Queens of Pet Surgana from Nasik district also participated in the struggle. In 1857, under the leadership of Kajar Singh, the Bhils revolted, whereas Shankar Shah led the revolt in Satpura region. 400 female Bhils participated in the revolt at Khandesh. By these statements, one thing which we can understand, it was not the revolt in any particular part of the country, but in the all parts or in the all regions of the country, और सारे क्लास इसमें participated थे. Here in the map you can see India important centers of 1857 revolt: Meerut, Delhi, Bareilly, Lucknow, Kanpur, Allahabad, Jhansi, Patna, here Satara. So everywhere there were revolts against British government. Then the next thing, next point of the topic, that is leadership of the struggle. During the 18th CA, after the weakening of Mughal Empire, invaders like Nadir Shah Abdali attacked India. The Marathas understood that Mughal Empire cannot react to these foreign invasions and took up the responsibility of safeguarding India, and that you people already learnt in 7th standards history. The Marathas fought against Abdali at Panipat for the same reason, and in freedom struggle of 1857, the descendant of Mughals, Bahadur Shah, was incapable of fighting against the British. So, understanding the condition, Nana Sahib Peshwa, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi and Tatya Tope took up the charge of the freedom struggle of 1857. Its effect could be seen on the Hindu-Muslim unity in the struggle. Maulvi Ahmad Allah, Kuwar Singh, Mughal commander Bakhtar Khan, Begum Hazrat Mahal led the revolt in various regions. The nature of revolt in Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, West Bihar was more fierce. So, the most important thing about the 1857 struggle, that each and every part of our country was participated in the freedom struggle of 1857. Now, in this topic we are to talk about crushing of the struggle and causes of failure of the struggle and the consequences of the freedom struggle, that is end of rule of East India Company, that we will study in the next session.
Subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notifications.
So, my dear students, this is all for today. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, take care.